Hello everybody and welcome to part 10, the final part for a while, of What If Superboy was an MHA. Well, I'm saying the last part for a while because this is where it ends in the schedule for a bit, and then next time, if there's going to be more, I'm going to put a poll in the future asking, which series do you want the next batch of? And you guys get to vote! Eventually I will make this. I am very interested in how the story is going, and what this episode sets up. Yes, I hope you guys enjoy that too. If you do, please hit that like button, subscribe, and all that. I don't want to leave you waiting, and yeah, this episode already sets up a couple different stuff, not only in this series. The final scene is talking about a new series that's going to start next week. That's going to be 3 parts. It's a little mini-series, so hope you're looking forward to that. That said, please enjoy the video. He's getting too close for comfort. If he continues on this path, he may find out our plans. A voice in a white monitor said. Agreed. He, along with his little league of super friends, have managed to foil many of our past operations. The most annoying part was the dismantling of the League of Shadows. Another voice added. Something needs to be done about him. And I have a perfect idea. All I ask for in return is his remains, All for One said, proceeding to explain his plan. We had promised the detective's body to Mr. Al Ghul, but considering the circumstances, we'll agree to your request, the first voice said. I'll make good use of him, All for One told his partner, a big grin forming on his face. Weeks ago, Shigaraki fell out of a portal his companion had created for him to escape through. No! He shouted, getting back up and running towards the portal, wanting to retrieve his ally, but the portal closed before he could. Damn it! He screamed, slamming his fist against the ground, opening his palm and letting part of the floor decay. Why was he there? Damn you, Eraser! Shigaraki said while starting to scratch himself frantically. He couldn't accept this. He refused to accept this. Calm yourself, Tomura Shigaraki. A voice emanating from a computer said. What has you so upset? Kurogiri. He got captured by Eraser. Shigaraki answered, calming down a bit at his master's request. How unfortunate. The fact that it was him who captured Kurogiri is no mere coincidence, the voice from the computer said. I'll prepare a new caretaker for you. In the meantime, rest and recuperate. Don't do anything too rash. After all, there's still much for you to do. The screen turned off. Shigaraki listened to his master's request again, deciding to go play a game before going to bed. In the meantime, his master sped up the preparations. What is it, master? Why did you call me? Shigaraki asked, a bit annoyed. He'd just come to the bar in the middle of a gaming session. It wasn't fun for him to be interrupted. 5 days ago, your caretaker was captured by the heroes. I have no doubt that they would have taken him to Tartarus by now, so retrieving him would be impossible at this juncture. It'd also be irresponsible of me to leave you without a caretaker, especially at this crucial point in your development, the voice on the screen said. He may have been rushed to completion, but I'm sure he'll prove invaluable to your plans. A black goop appeared next to Shigaraki, expanding until a person was shot out. He was wearing a purple, red, and yellow costume that would remind anyone of Batman's old suit. The only part where his skin was exposed was covered in fur, hiding the only remnants of his humanity. Who is this? Shigaraki asked indignantly, watching as the man got to his feet. Why is he wearing that costume? Now, Tomura Shigaraki, be polite. He can tell you his name himself. As for the costume, it was his choice what he wanted to wear. Just like with Kurogiri, the voice behind the computer said. You, what's your name? Shigaraki asked, but the creature didn't answer. I'd like for you to answer Shigaraki's question. After all, he is your new master, the voice said, reinforcing the order. Zurinar, the man answered, at your service. He doesn't talk very well, does he? Shigaraki commented. Give him time. He still has to adjust, the voice behind the screen answered once more. He won't be as useful in terms of transportation for you, but he will prove invaluable otherwise. Days passed and the influence of Stain spread. He'd been taken down, but his connection to the League was also exposed, attracting many lowlifes to the League's side. What's so interesting about that picture, Mr. Shigaraki? Zurinar asked, seeing Shigaraki look at it for a while. It's nothing, Shigaraki responded, crumbling the picture in his hand. Before Zurinar could press the situation any further, the door to the bar opened and a man with short gray hair walked in. Shigaraki, he said, your League of Villains has been the talk of the town lately. Word on the streets is you're about to start something big. And who did you bring? Shigaraki asked, getting straight to the point. The broker let out a small chuckle and stepped out of the door, allowing a man with burn scars all over his body and black hair along with a creepy blonde-haired girl to walk in. So it's really you, huh? The partially burnt man said. I've seen plenty of pictures, but I gotta say, you're way grosser in person. Whoa! It's the weird hand guy! You're friends with my hero Stainy, right? The blonde-haired girl asked. Cool! Let me join the League. I want to be in your group. Oh, and who's this guy? Never seen him before, the burnt man added, inspecting the furry man in the colorful costume. Not important, Shigaraki responded. Zurinar, get rid of these two. I can already tell they're exactly the kind of trash I hate. A brat and a guy with no manners. Aren't you being too hasty in dismissing them? Their skills could prove invaluable in certain missions. You should at least give them a chance to introduce themselves. Besides, Jiran is one of the most well-known brokers in the Japanese underworld. He has committed several crimes and eluded arrest multiple times over. I am sure that they will be valuable tools, Zurinar commented. Who are you calling tools? The burnt man asked. My apologies. Would you prefer assets or maybe soldiers? Zurinar asked. How about allies? The burnt man responded. Like him or not, you still owe me a finder's fee. In cash, Jiran added. I suppose I could at least introduce the two of them before I go. The broker pointed at the girl and continued. This one looks like an adorable high school girl, right? Well, she's actually the suspect in a series of deaths where the victims all bled out. So far, her name and face have been kept out of the media. Toga here! Himiko Toga! The girl introduced herself before Jiran could go on. Life is too hard. I just want to make it easier to live in this dumb world. I want to be Mr. Stainy. I want to kill Mr. Stainy. Come on, handyman. Please let me join your league. You gotta be kidding me, Shigaraki asked. She crazy? She does remind me of someone who is, Zurinar added. Well, she can hold a conversation, Jiran answered. For the most part, at least. Come on, she can be useful. Jiran turned to the burnt man and continued his pitch. And this guy, he hasn't committed any flashy crimes, but he's taken Stain's ideology to heart. I don't like this. Is your group really dedicated to the hero killer's mission? I can't imagine you are if you're gonna let this psycho join you, the burnt man added. Grow up. She may be a psycho, but at least she knows how to introduce herself to people. Don't just stare. What's your name? Shigaraki asked. Right now I'm going by Dabi, the burnt man answered. No, I want to know your real name, Shiraki complained, annoyed and agitated by the man's demeanor. I'll tell you when you need to know it, Dabi responded. In any case, my new purpose is to carry out the hero killer's will. That's not what I asked you, Patchwork. Jeez, why is everyone so hung up on Stain? He's all I ever hear about. Every damn day. It's really pissing me off, Shigaraki said, going in for the attack. Feeling his killer intent, both Toga and Dabi reacted with the same force, but before any of their attacks could make contact with one another, Zoro and R reacted, shooting out small talons that pinned Shigaraki to the ground. He then quickly disabled both villains with a couple well-placed strikes that temporarily brought them to the ground, numbing parts of their bodies. What's the deal? Shigaraki asked, decaying the talon that had pinned him down. I ought to kill you for that. I do apologize, but it did not seem prudent that you'd eliminate valuable assets like that. I would suggest you calm yourself. Use all the weapons at your disposal to attain your objective, especially Stain's ideology, which can be very advantageous, Zoronar suggested. I'm out of here, Shigaraki announced, leaving the room. Where are you off to? Jiran asked. Shut up, Shigaraki responded, leaving Zoronar to complete the transaction while he went out to clear his head. Shigaraki stepped out to the city streets to think his situation over. As he walked, a news broadcast caught his attention. Now for the international news. In the United States of America, President Luthor's new initiative has been implemented after only 2 weeks. In light of the chaos left behind by the death of the Beacon of Hope, a bill was passed that will allow private companies to distribute hero licenses as long as the company itself remained approved by the government. This bill is meant to flatten the rising crime rate, and it seems to have worked. New heroes sponsored by a company called Infinity Incorporated, one of the first companies to be allowed to distribute their licenses, have already had over 50 resolved incidents in just 3 days. An astonishing figure. Some of the breakout heroes have been Steel, Jade, Trajectory, and of course, the Boy of Steel, who himself is responsible for half of those resolved incidents. We turn to an interview with the president himself, the reporter said as the screen changed to an interview with Lex Luthor. So, Mr. Luthor, what has led to this idea in the first place? The interviewer asked. Well, Miss Grant, as you know, the US has one of the most competitive hero systems in the world. It makes it hard for new heroes, especially young ones, to earn a license and for anyone to go up in the rankings. As a result of the hero system, we have a surprisingly low number of heroes. The number has dwindled since the death of Batman and seems to be following the same trend now. We need as many troops as we can in case anything like the Doomsday incident were to happen again, Lex explained. Did that play into the motivation to let Infinity Inc. be the first to use the new system you're implementing? Cat Grand asked. Of course. Infinity Incorporated is a company that has been producing support items on the international level for quite a while. I, along with my administration, spoke to them of what this new system should accomplish, and they agreed with most of our values. The children are our future. This is all for them, to try and build a brighter tomorrow for us all, Lex responded. Is that why most of the heroes they have given licenses to are on the younger side? Miss Grant inquired. The interview continued on, but Shigaraki lost interest. He couldn't bear to listen to that self-indulgent man speak anymore, so he continued on his walk, thinking everything over. Still, the words the president had said did strike a chord and started to give him ideas. The interview went well. My poll numbers have never been higher. If we continued on this path, a second term is all but assured, Lex said to a room full of white screens. Indeed, but that is assuming there aren't any further complications, one of the voices behind the screen said. Even if there are, we now have new heroes that I'm sure can take care of them. Weapon 13 alone should be able to deter any further threat, Lex answered. Good. Then the Doomsday gamble paid off after all. It could have been problematic if he wasn't taken care of by the heroes, a voice said. It did cause more damage than we had anticipated, though, another one added. But it accomplished its goal. Not only did it eliminate the Beacon of Hope as a problem, but it has also turned many's attention to the stars and the threats that lay there. Not to mention, it allowed me to pass my bill with overwhelming support, Lex said. On the subject of the Beacon of Hope, I'd like to request being able to use the body for experimentation, All for One asked, throwing his request into the ring. I'm afraid that's something you'll have to discuss with Mr. Luthor. He did call dibs on the experiment for Project Katniss, the first voice said. It should be fine. We already have all the genetic material we'll need, not to mention one successful specimen. In time we'll have more, but there's little else we can do with the original specimen now, Legs said. Let him do whatever bizarre experiments he has planned. I look forward to seeing what Dr. Garaki can do. The Noma were already such a fascinating creation. Then it is agreed, although we'll have to make the transport covertly, the first voice said. Ah, Shigaraki, you have returned, Zoran R said as Shigaraki entered the bar again. Have you had a chance to cool off? Maybe you've decided on a course of action. Yes, I can see it all with more clarity now, Shigaraki answered. Then how would you like to proceed? Zoran R asked, looking at the boy. Call the broker. We're going to take the new recruits, and we're going to get some more. We'll need as many as we can get for what is to come, Shigaraki said. What may that be? Zoran R asked, curious. Luthor was right when he said that the children are the future. We're going to disrupt that future and impose our own, Shigaraki said, a grin on his face as he put his father's hand on his face. How do you plan on doing that? Zoran R asked. We're going to invade the place where young heroes are made, Shigaraki answered. A few weeks later, in Universe 223, a portal opened in Jabong, Philippines. It subsequently closed. Moments later, in Universe 984, in Badohu, Comoros, another dimensional portal opened, only to close again. Moments after that, on Earth 24, the universe where MHA and the DC Universe intersect, a portal opened in Debaca County, New Mexico. Out of the portal came a streak of a man, followed by lightning. The man bounced off the ground a couple times before hitting a rock. He was dressed in a red and yellow costume. He put his hand to his head and scratched it, trying to alleviate the pain.
Did it work?
He asked, looking around. His memory was a bit fuzzy after hitting his head, so he tried collecting himself, going over the events that had led him to where he was. Wait, before you go, one thing you need to know. Next week there's going to be this little mini-series called Remnants that's going to pick up where the last scene left off. The last scene is kind of its own thing. It doesn't have to do with the story. Just in case people ask me, when does that boy come back? His name is Jay. He's from the previous version of What If Superboy was in MHA, the one that got rebooted. And yeah, so you can guess what Remnants is for. It's going to come in like 3 days, so hope you're looking forward to that. As for this episode in itself, it focused on the villains and was a bit shorter because when I make up my own little story, it usually ends up shorter than only What If stuff. So yeah, because it only focused on this. I mean, a long time ago, I already said, okay, I'm going to decide what's going to be in the video, and how long it turns out is how long it turns out. I'm not going to shorten it. I'm not going to make it longer. It's just how much it is. If it feels right, it feels right. And although it feels a bit short, I think this is the right amount of content. We have the light being introduced in a flashback to before Batman died, and then he returns as Zurin R. Batman, who has problems speaking most of the time, except sometimes. Because Zurin R., if I have the right amount of context, I mean, there's an alien planet where there's the Zurin R. Batman, but the version I'm going with is the separate personality he made to kind of, not be able to be mind controlled. That includes Gnomified. He kind of has this weird quirk. He's kind of combined with Man-Bat because someone suggested that, and I'm like, yes. He can transform into a full bat form and can do a couple different things, like shoot the talons, because he's very good. Aside from that, he still regains his detective. He still has his detective skills and whatnot. He's still Batman, just Gnomified and supposed to serve Shigaraki, but he's resisting, as you can see when he talks, because he talks very weirdly. Yes, that's a detail I hope someone noticed. What's gonna happen with Superman? Also, the Boy of Steel was to introduce the Con-El version of the story, but I did not want to call him Superboy or Superman because I feel like the public would really demonize him if he called himself Superman, and I feel like Superboy, there's already one Superboy, it can cause confusion, so I said, okay, the Boy of Steel. All the other ones are people from the Everyman Project from the comics. Like Steel, it's the female version of Steel that got her powers in the Everyman Project, because that's more or less what I'm going with the Infinity Incorporated. It plays into the more nefarious stuff. Someone said, I can't wait for the Reign of the Superman storyline to come. I honestly didn't have planned to do this, but then because so many, like 4 people said, I can't wait to see the Reign of the Superman, I was like, okay, what's gonna happen there? And I started implementing this, because the idea is to show how John and all these people become heroes in Japan. They're not really in the US, and they're not going to affect the US. That's kind of going to be like, okay, this is open-ended, and that's more or less how I plan to end the series, with an open end in case you want more. But it's just the series isn't very popular, so I was like, okay, I'm going to plan until this point, then I'm going to do that, and that. No spoilers. Yes. Yeah. No spoilers at all. I don't want to spoil you guys of what I have planned. This is a shorter episode. Hope you guys all enjoyed it. And until next time, which, again, if you want to see the continuation of what this kid called J. West Allen coming out of the portal at the end is, then watch the miniseries coming out on Tuesday. If you don't, you can just ignore it if you want. It's up to you. I'm not going to force anyone. Okay. Until next time, everyone, please like, subscribe, and have an absolutely fantastic day. Bye!